right. So today, we're kind of like wrapping up a couple things. We just got done with our QBR series. And then before that, we were talking about a bad plan is better than no plan. And we've had a couple other topics there about you just need to get rolling. And so one of my favorite topics is cadence. And that doesn't make a great topic for a podcast because people are like, oh, cadence, and they're just going to scroll over that.
Yeah,
so
that's boring.
I need something more clickbaity, like why you keep failing, or something.
Oh, yeah.
So today is you need to get started with that bad plan or something today.
Yeah.
And then you need to write it down. So the dirty secret of things like monday.com or our project roadmap or a Trello is the fact that you're actually executing. You're actually holding yourself accountable.
You're doing it.
You're not perfect. It's kind of like when you go on a diet. It's not the diet that's helping you, but the fact that you're actually paying attention to what you eat. That's really what's helping you. So when it comes to planning out your year, it comes down to, are you paying attention or are you just living day to day?
Well, and you mentioned clickbait. I think the term QBR, just everything about that to me, I'm desensitized to it, or I don't know, jaded by it one way or the other. It's just clickbait. Your engagements with your clients, your strategic plan is so much more than just a QBR. Right? And maybe you don't do your QBRs quarterly, and maybe you have a different name or whatever. So, but I throw this out there, start with a QBR, right? That's a starting spot. Say, all right, I'm going to do this 4 times over the next year. Now, if we dig into it, and if you ask me my opinion on it, you're going to need a lot more than just a meeting every so often. But that's a great place to start, right? Let's put it on the calendar. Let's set some objectives. Maybe we're not going to do everything we want, but that is a whole lot better than, having a meeting that is just kind of this big fuzzy, hey, we're looking forward to the new year kind of thing that I know a lot of you do. And then you come out of that meeting and there's no expectation on exactly what you're going to do for the rest of the year. You're going to fix their problems. You're going to, get some numbers on this, you're going to think about some ideas for that. And there's nothing really definitive. And you'll sit down with them again in 2025 and have another one of these big fuzzy meetings with no specific, outcomes, and you won't get that much done.
Yeah.
So start now. Just put some meetings on the calendar. Even if you don't even call them QBRs, just call them reviews. I don't care. Just get something out there.
Call them something, know. And what the point is when you do QBRs, it's kind of like getting a day planner. Everyone's like, oh, I need to do QBRs, or I need to have a day planner so that I can keep myself organized. Both of these items or objects in your scheduling need to have some kind of format around them, like a plan. So you're doing a QBR because you're reviewing your plan and making sure it's still effective. That's where a lot of MSPs, and we've said that in our previous QBR series, was they see a QBR as, I need to review the last year. I need to review. No, you're reviewing your plan and making sure that it's still effective for the rest of the year. It's forward looking, as Skip says. And if you don't have something started in January, what are you reviewing? If you had no plan through the year, what are you reviewing? That's why MSPs keep driving into, we need to show them tickets. We need to show them how many things we closed. That's not it. That's historical data. That's great, but it doesn't show value in that. It doesn't show how you're going to help the business going forward. So, and the same thing goes with employee reviews. If you're doing employee reviews this year, it's not so much what did they do, which is important. You got to talk about, did they get their job done? Did they meet expectations over the past 6 months? But also, do they know what they need to do for the next 6 months? Are they going to help your MSP grow? Are they going to meet expectations over the next year? That is the important part, that forward view. But you can't do that unless you already have a set of rocks you're following or a direction you're trying to go.
Yes.
That's why it's important to get these started at the beginning of a fiscal year than at the end.
for like the employee review, if you don't have a plan of action for that employee, I expect you to do these things over the year, then at the end of the year, there's no way for you to review that. And what you're going to be left with is just looking at what happened. All right. So if you don't have any objectives, measurable, specific objectives for an employee, your review is going to consist of, well, you logged in on time, 87% of the time. You missed login times by, 5 minutes or more, 10% of the time. It's just all these little metrics that you coax out of something that look like valuable data, but they don't really do anything as far as getting you to a goal. Your expectation for that employee, was it really that they would log in within a specific time frame in frame of minutes? Is that really what you wanted that employee to do? Or did you want them to take care of customer initiatives? Did you want them to drive a customer satisfaction level? Did you want to achieve product or projects within estimated time frames? What was it you were wanting them to do? It's more than just logging in, I guarantee you. So your customers are expecting more of you than just saying, hey, we closed 47 tickets last month.
Yeah. And the goal there is to keep that momentum, to hold accountability yourself and your clients. And you do that by, in January, hey, here's what we want to accomplish this year. So you should be working on these plans in October, which is where you do your budget cycles. Hey, here are the things we're going to pay for next year. And this way you kind of add in some agility into your customer planning. So when a customer says, hey, this year hasn't gone as well as we want, or this year has gone better than we thought, let's go ahead and prioritize some of these other projects so that we can get ahead of the year. Fantastic. But if you don't have those touch points, if you don't have those going throughout the year, then you're going to fall behind. Projects that you may have sold in April won't get talked about until September, October, because that's when you next talk to your client. Mm-hmm. And that's when that accountability comes. And it'll feel kind of random. It'll feel like, man, I go in there and they won't listen to me. I've got this thing that needs to be done and the client isn't listening to me. And it's because you haven't spent the last 6 months listening to them. Mm-hmm. And so you're now speaking out of context.
So, well, and, take this opportunity to set yourself up for success, right? You're thinking about these things and you're like, that's what I wanted. I've been working on this. Yes, I'm trying to do that, but you've got a lot of things going on. You're busy and you're going to have to put some parameters around yourself to make this happen.
Yeah.
So pick a date, pick an event, and go ahead and book it. Back to my other sorts of meetings. I'm a big fan of some sort of multi-client sort of event. All right. Maybe you have a big social. Maybe you do a big community involvement event. Maybe you have some focus groups and you bring in, groups of your clients. So there's lots of ideas that you can do out there. And I think a lot of them are really, really good. But people look and they go, "Oh, yeah, that's a lot. Let's do that late summer, and we'll start planning on that, in late spring." Okay, that may be fine. Put a date on the calendar now, and tell other people that you're going to do that. Go ahead and send some sort of announcement out. Commit to doing that.
Yes.
Because if you don't go ahead and commit, you're going to get to late spring and you go, I don't know, we're kind of busy right now. We got the big project. I got to fill that head count. Why don't we push that back till, early in Q4? And it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. So commit, make it happen.
Yeah, we see this a lot. And this also helps you avoid things like tool sprawl or, helps you avoid things like just random, quotes that you're sending to clients. A lot of burned time here. Like you have 3 tools for this, 4 tools for that. Your stack is kind of haphazard. That's because you're in a reactionary standpoint. And it's actually quite simple to get out of that reactionary. You have to start a plan and listen to that podcast. A bad plan is better than no plan. We did it like 5 weeks ago.
Yep.
Listen to that. Talk to yourself about how are you going to see this year going. And that when some random tool comes up, if some engineer says, hey, we want to use this tool, and like, does that fit into the plan?
Right.
Is that going to support what we're trying to do this year? And you can start saying no to things. And I'm a big fan of the power of no, the ability to say, no, this client is not a good fit for us. No, this tool is not going to help us reach our goals. No, that project is not going to help. And that keeps you focused and keeps you out of that reactionary standpoint. You're in operations, so you're never going to get rid of firefighting. It's always going to be there. But you can minimize and be prepared. And it all comes down to, in January, February, start with a plan. If you've only got like an hour to think about a plan, grab a beer. By the time you finish the beer, write out a plan. Anything. Anything. And then when you do your QBRs, when you do reviews, is this plan still viable? Do I need to make this plan better? When you walk into your client, that's what we have like in our software is a pre-built QBR. Does it work for everyone? No, but at least it's something. Something to start talking about.
Well, and I think, there's a lot of value in those starting spots. We've got one of our members, when we were first putting that QBR persona together, Adam, they were one of the first ones that we showed it to. And I remember, I love video calls because I can, see their reactions. They looked at that and went, oh, yeah. And I could tell that they weren't saying, oh, yeah, that was great. You've created something perfect. I could see that I'd sparked an idea. In their minds. And sure enough, I checked on them a little while ago. It's somewhat similar to ours, but they've taken that and they've made it their own. They've run with it. And it was a starting spot. They're moving on it. And what the cool thing about theirs is they're going to do a different one of those for every quarter in this year. Do you know how many they have built so far? Just quarter one. Why? Because quarter two is not here yet, and as it gets closer, they will build it. But they got a plan. They're working it. The details they need right now are for quarter one. They don't need the details in quarter four, and they're not working on them yet. They'll work on them when the timing's right, but they've set the expectation. Their internal team and their clients know that they have a different initiative going on for every quarter this year. So they've got the parameters, they got the expectations, they got the plan, and they're working to meet the plan.
And when we talk about work the plan, meet the plan, this is where you used to create a goal in January with a client, or you create a goal with yourself. Now you have to review that goal occasionally. Because you're holding yourself accountable. Now, when you have your team meetings, that is in front of you, and you're going to be like, oh, I should review that every month. It's going to be natural to want to think about it. But that's why we do the Humanize IT 4 pillars, right? Those 4 help flavor this so that you have something to look forward to. Quarter one, architecture, focus on hardware and software. Quarter two, service delivery. How are you going to help your clients? How are you going to help them meet the goals that you set? Quarter three, what risks are to those goals? Focus on that. Quarter four, strategic planning for the next year. And so when you do that, just simple 4-part cadence, you feel different. Now it's not, what do I talk about in the QBR? It is predefined. And then you're like, you know what? Next year, let's talk about this thing in our QBR. And you can make it better a little bit at a time, but at least you have a plan. Create a plan, follow the plan. And that's the importance of cadence. Cadence will start feeling natural. I used to have this lecture I gave. People loved Palm Pilots back in the early 2000s. They thought they would solve all their problems. Yeah. They had bad habits. And so they bought this Palm Pilot and it just became something to play Bubble Breaker on. And that just killed, their productivity because they didn't have a plan to follow. And then Apple leaned into that and said, hey, you know what? They're mostly using these devices for games. Let's just create a phone that is entertainment focused. And then the world went into a completely different area. There was a time when Blackberries and Palms were out there and smartphones were seen as business planners. Yeah. We don't see them as that anymore. No, they're an entertainment device. Yeah. Because so many people don't have a plan. So many people don't have any kind of organizational behavior. And so we talk to clients all the time, prospects and MSPs, and we have beer with people at events, and we constantly talk about, how do I get out of firefighting mode? How do I'll do that someday.
Mm-hmm.
And our response is always, someday never happens. When does Sunday happen? Never. And tomorrow never happens. So it would pick your phrase.
Yep.
And the goal is here for us to say today. We want people to say, today I will start changing my MSP. Whether it's, I'm going to get a Big Chief notebook out and scratch down what I need to do,
Mm-hmm.
or it's, I'm going to buy a tool that's going to get me the first step there. And maybe that's 90.io that's going to help you with rock planning. Maybe that's Humanize IT, where we're going to help you schedule out your cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Start somewhere. Create a plan and do it today. Don't create a plan in fourth quarter and then pretend like the whole year didn't happen.
Yeah.
I would rather get to August with a sticky note that said, will help client reduce downtime on the front of my folder, than walk into a client meeting with no plan and no goal.
Right.
How am I supposed to understand what this client wants to do if I don't understand what their goal is? How do I review that? How do I make sure that we're going in the right direction? And that's where cadence is.
Yeah. And here's the underlying reason why you want to do this, right? This sounds all good. It's kind of good, I don't know, not clickbait, but just it's cool sounding stuff, right? But this process makes you more money. All right. Yep. You're running your businesses because you want them to be profitable, and the more profitable, the better. So as you work these plans, you're going to engage with your clients better. You're going to understand their needs more, and you're going to be able to go deeper and wider into their business.
Yep.
Now, you look at some of your clients, you go, oh, they're just a small shop. They can't afford, anything more in technology. They're paying me all they can for technology support. Yep, you're probably right. If that's your view, that they probably are paying you all that you can. And there's going to be a limit to everybody. But can they invest in their business? Do they want their business to grow? All right. And typically you have to spend some money to make some money. And if you're part of their business growth, part of their investments in things that make their business grow, they're coming out ahead and you're coming out ahead. So don't minimize what you're going to be able to do with your clients, and realize that what you can do with a better plan, a better client engagement, is higher margin work and more of it with your clients. So There's a real good fundamental financial reason to do this, not just because it sounds great, but it's going to make you money.
And it works, and it's simple. So being able to create a cadence where you say, I'm going to meet with my client. So Skip talked about this earlier. I'm going to meet with my client quarterly, and you schedule those out. What are you going to talk about in third quarter? Does not matter. You have the event scheduled. Mm-hmm. This is your guidepost for the year. Just like Skip's talking about that client who created their first quarter QBRs. What are they going to do second quarter, third quarter? They don't have that. They know generally they're going to review with the client. Are we on track? But then they're going to modify as they get along. That's the point of a QBR. That's the point of a cadence. Like how often do you want to know things are going wrong? How often do you want to course correct? With your larger clients, you want to course correct faster. With your smaller clients, you want to course correct slower. So what we want to do is we set this up in the beginning, and that's the importance of cadence. To go back to that word, having a regular heartbeat for your clients, having a regular heartbeat for your internal teams. How often do you want to know things are going wrong? And by setting that up, you're doing well. So to kind of finalize this, one of the things that they talk about in gym memberships. So if you get to the trainers that actually care, that actually want to help you improve your health. I've heard this from several different trainers. The important thing is walking in the door to the gym, not working out, but is walking in the door. If you walk in and do a couple things and walk out, sure, it's not really effective. But if you walk in and do some dumbbell curls today, and then you walk out, tomorrow you walk in and you sit on a bench and look at some YouTube videos, you walk out. You keep doing this over and over. Eventually you start adding little things onto your workout.
Yes.
Eventually the workout gets a little bit longer, and it may take 2-3 years, but eventually you're going to be working out full time. And that's the way cadence works, is that you're making little changes today that are going to result in big ones tomorrow. Those atomic habits, read that book, and they build up. But you can't get any bigger until you start somewhere.
Yep.
And that's why not even having a big old QBR process ready, but saying, I am going to meet, and then committing to that on a regular basis will result in bigger gains than anything else you can do. But you have to start today, not tomorrow, today.
Yeah. Well, and the member that I was talking about, they've got all 4 quarters planned out to use these personas, a different persona each quarter, but they've only got Q1 built. All right. Now, when they go to build Q2, the great thing about that is they're going to be applying the lessons they learned in Q1.
Yep.
They're going to be able to go through and go, oh, that was a really great idea, but that didn't work, but this this was awesome. And they're going to have a lot of firsthand, actionable information that will build that Q2 that is even better. And they'll just keep repeating that process on and on. So that by the time they get to Q4, they're going to have a persona that does, really, really well. And it would be far, far beyond whatever they could think of right now. Right. They don't really know everything they need to know. We don't know the future. So starting now is going to give you the tools that you need to build that going forward.
Yep.
And if you find yourself in a spot because it's like, I don't have the tools, I don't have the information, it may be because you didn't start. So you've got to start, and then you will have that. You will have that supporting information as you get there.
Yeah, and I hear Skip say this on calls all the time, or after calls we're doing cleanups. Like, these people, they just need to start. They just need to do something. What's the difference between this year and last year? Like you're kicking a ball down the road, or you're delaying this thing that you need to do, and you're delaying it to the point where like it's going to be another year is going to go by, and 2024 is going to be the same as 2023, which is going to be the same as 2022, because you're not changing anything. If you're doing the same habits today, if you're not doing an organizational change or changing your cadence or changing your goals, then you're going to be just like you were last year. If you as a leader want to upgrade your company, you have to start somewhere. And with that is creating a plan and following the plan. In this case, all I'm asking you guys to do is reach out and create a cadence with your clients. Promise to meet with them and get it on the calendar now, all the way through December. 1 a quarter, or just once in the next 12 months. Get it on the calendar, and then you have to deliver and review where they were and where they're going. That's it. I'm not asking for a perfect plan. I'm not asking you to have some big old procurement process in place. I'm asking you to simply talk to your client on a regular basis.
Yep. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. If you want to get something different, you got to do something different.
That's a great one to end on. All right. Well, thank you, Skip. If there's any MSPs out there who want to be part of our podcast, we're looking for guests throughout the year here. I want to start getting more MSPs in here to talk about how their year is going, success stories, warning stories, or just general advice. Come on. We'd like to get one of those a month for the next 12 months scheduled out. So we're going to try to promise that and get those on the calendar. So reach out to us. You can hit our website, or you can just schedule some time with us, and let's get some podcasts going with some real MSPs. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.